Here we learn IV graph. IV graph means this is I is current and V is potential difference, volt. Okay, so if you have a conductor, now if you increase the potential difference, or if you apply the potential difference on this wire or conductor, then current will flow from high potential to lower potential. Okay, now when you increase the potential difference, this amount of electricity also increases. Then when you do this experiment, okay, and when you're going to draw a graph, if you put here in horizontal this line for volt V and this vertical line, this line for I, or amount of current. If there is voltage 0, current also will be 0. Okay, if there is volt is 1, there will be some amount of current. Okay, and if you increase the volt here, so this is 1 volt, 2 volt, this is 3 volt, 4 volt, etc. When you increase the volt, this current also increases. Okay, now if you increase the volt, suppose this is a 2 volt, suppose here, okay, then amount of current also increases. Suppose this current reached up to this level. Okay, and finally you will go on and on increasing the volt. This current also increases. Now when you intercept this amount of volt and amount of current, okay, on this graph, it will intersect somewhere. And similarly, what was the amount of volt, okay, that time you will get some amount of current. So these two will intersect on this graph. Okay, and finally when you join this intersection of this volt and current every time, okay, you will get a straight line or this graph. This graph is known as IV graph. Okay, and with the help of this IV graph, you will get slope. Slope means now what was the change in volt, or how much you have changed the potential difference. There will be some change in current, or I by V. Okay, this I by V means what? This is 1 by R. 1 by R means, or inverse of R means, this is the conductance of wire. Or with the help of this graph, you can find the conductance of a wire or conductor. Now when you know the conductance, that means now you can get the Earth's resistance also, or ohm. Okay, or when you divide I by V, you will get the conductance. Or this opposite, R means what? You have to divide amount of volt divided by amount of current. Okay, or you can get any value. What was the amount of volt? Suppose from here to here, this is called del V. Then within this gap, what was the amount of current? This is called del I. Okay, so this ratio is known as slope. With the help of slope, you can find conductance or resistance of this conductor. This is the use of this IV graph, or how to draw IV graph. Actually, this is done in experiment. You have to take the wire and you have to increase the volt. You will get the amount of current. You have to note every time. When you increase this volt every time, you have to note every time the amount of electricity. And finally, plot on this graph, you will get a straight line. Okay, this straight line gives the amount of change in amount of volt and change in amount of current.